Welcome everyone, I'm Erin from the Lucy Rose Clinic. Today we're going to talk about something that we hear all the time from women in the clinic. That's I'm eating well, I'm exercising, I've cut back on food. Basically I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, but the weight isn't shifting. Or sometimes even more frustratingly, it's going up. And when you bring it up, you might be told to eat less or move more or just try harder in general. But I want to say this really clearly. If your thyroid and metabolism aren't working properly, this is not a willpower problem. It's not because you're lazy or you lack discipline. It's not always as simple as calories in, calories out. For many thyroid patients, the body is not burning energy the way it should. So today I want to explain why that happens, what else can drive stubborn weight, and what we actually look at when someone says, I just can't shift it. Now this includes those of you who maybe started on a higher calorie diet and over time you've cut down and down and down, but now you're sort of stalled and you're not seeing any results, which is pretty common. In fact, a lot of women actually gain more fat when this happens. So let me explain to you what is happening. So your thyroid plays a major role in your metabolism. And when we say metabolism, we don't just mean weight loss. We mean how your body produces energy, how warm you feel, how clearly you think, how well your digestion is, and basically how your cells use fuel. So one of the key thyroid hormones involved here is called T3. T3 is the active hormone. It's the form that your cells actually use. When T3 is low, the body can start to slow down. You may burn less energy at rest, you may feel more tired or colder, and your body may hold on to weight even when you're doing the right things. And in many ways, this is exactly what happens to people. So the body is very smart. If it senses that your energy is low or that you're under stress, it may try to conserve energy. That means become more protective of fat stores. So that's not a character flaw, it's biology. Now here's the part that often gets missed. A lot of people are told their thyroid is normal because their TSH is within range. Now, within range, sorry. So TSH is one thyroid marker, and it can be useful, but it doesn't tell the full story. So you can have a normal TSH, but you can still not be making enough T3. Now that can happen when your body doesn't convert T4, another thyroid hormone, into T3 properly. So basically there's three markers. So there's TSH, which sends a signal to produce T4 and T3. Now T4 converts into T3, which is the one that your body uses. Hopefully I haven't lost you. Now, I'll just explain that again. So T4 is the inactive thyroid hormone. So your body has to convert it into T3 before your cells can properly use it. Now, a lot of that conversion happens through the liver and the gut. So if there are issues with your gut health, if you have inflammation or nutrient deficiencies, then that conversion may not work so well. Now, there's also something called reverse T3. The easiest way to think about reverse T3 is this. Instead of helping your body speed up and use energy, it acts more like a brake. So reverse T3 often rises when the body is under stress. That could be emotional stress or physical stress, illness, you could be sick, inflammation in the body, undereating, overtraining, or long periods of dieting, which is what I was telling you about. You might be cutting down and down, but not seeing results. And this is why some people find that strict dieting backfires. So they cut calories harder and harder, but their body responds by slowing down even more. This leaves you feeling exhausted and hungry and just frustrated that the weight is just not moving. And that is why for many thyroid patients, the answer is not always eat less. Sometimes the body needs to feel safe to burn energy again. So I'm curious, have you ever had that experience? So maybe you've been eating well for weeks, you're exercising a lot, you're doing everything right, and the scales have either stayed the same or even gone up. Now if that's you, pop a comment below, because it's very common and it can be so demoralizing when nobody explains what might actually be happening. Now I want to talk about the thyroid and other hormones. Now that I've talked about the thyroid, now we'll talk about other hormones, because the whole thing is part of I guess that's one of the puzzle pieces for the bigger picture. When we see stubborn weight in the clinic, we often need to look at several of the body systems together. One of the hormones that could be impacting your weight is insulin. So insulin is a hormone that helps move glucose or sugar from your blood into your cells. And when your cells stop responding to insulin, your body might store more fat, especially around the abdomen. This is called insulin resistance, and it can make weight loss feel almost impossible until it is addressed properly. Another hormone we have is cortisol. So cortisol is one of your main stress hormones. Now cortisol isn't a bad thing, despite what you might have heard. You actually need it. But when it stays high for too long, it can affect things like your sleep, food cravings, your blood sugar, and of course fat storage. And high cortisol can also interfere with your thyroid function. So if you're exhausted and you're stressed and you're sleeping really badly, and you're pushing it even more with your diet and exercise, your body can actually feel more under threat. So for women in perimenopause, estrogen and progesterone also can play a role. Hormonal shifts during the stage can change where weight is stored, how your fluid is retained, how hungry you feel, and how well your thyroid hormones are used in the body. And lastly, this isn't a hormone, but you also have the gut. So your gut, it's not really separate from your hormones, but it can influence inflammation, nutrient absorption, and thyroid hormone conversion. So if someone has bloating or constipation, food reactions, or just ongoing gut symptoms, we don't ignore that, because this might be why your metabolism feels stuck. Now this is why stubborn weight it's really about food, to be honest. It can be about your thyroid, it can be insulin, it could be cortisol, it could be perimenopause, or it could be your gut health. But very often it's a combination of these. So just to wrap things up, hopefully I haven't confused you, but what can you actually do about it? So the first thing to remember is be very careful with extreme dieting. If you're eating too little for too long, especially when you're stressed or unwell, your body might slow everything down even further. For many women, especially those with thyroid issues, the goal is not to starve the body into submission. It is to support the body again so it can produce energy. That means eating enough food, enough protein, enough nutrients, and enough recovery. Second, you should get proper testing. So if you've only ever had TSH checked, that may not be enough. A more complete thyroid picture may include free T4, free T3, thyroid antibodies, and sometimes reverse T3, depending on your symptoms and history. Then you want to look at all the symptoms around the thyroid. So how's your gut? How's your stress, your sleep? How's your blood sugar? Are you in perimenopause, for example? And are you getting all the nutrients you need to support your body? Because if those pieces aren't working well, your thyroid likely isn't working well either. Lastly, don't use the scales as your only measure of progress. So the number on the scale can be affected by fluid, inflammation, hormones, where you are in your cycle. So yeah, weight can matter, but it's not the only sign that your body is changing. A lot of other factors come into this, like your energy and your sleep. So we want to improve the whole body, not just the number on the scale that's dropping. So if your weight has been resistant and you've been blaming yourself, I really want you to hear this. It might not be your fault, and you may not need to be trying harder. It may be because nobody has looked deeply enough at what your body is actually doing. So at the Lucy Rose Clinic, we look at the full picture. We don't just look at TSH and send you away. We look at thyroid hormones, we look at stress, your gut health, blood sugar, nutrients, and the patterns that may be keeping your body stuck. Because when you understand the real drivers, it'll stop you from guessing. If this sounds like you, the link is in the comments. And please share this with someone who's been told to eat less when they have a gut feeling that something deeper is going on.